Welcome to Ole Walls House. It's me. It's your man. It's your main man. It's Ole Walls. I'm back with you. We got episode 148 coming your way today. Fun show. We got to talk about some interesting happenings over the weekend with a couple of my favorite teams. Packers and Penn State both go down. We will discuss those in depth. Cover the rest of the NFL, cover college football. Flyers are rolling now. Well, I don't know about rolling, but they're going. They're playing. The rest of the passing thoughts and, a bunch of fun stuff coming your way. Before we get going, a couple of things. First, if you guys could comment, subscribe, like, share, rate, review, do the whole bunch. The Spotify, Apple Pods, Amazon, YouTube. Go out, like it all, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And a fun announcement here. Friend of the program, contributor to Ole Walls House, Matthew MJ Johnson is launching his own podcast, the Full Range Podcast. The first preview show went out on Monday, and I believe the idea is to have his first show out on Thursday. So check that out. MJ, friend of the show, support him as well. Might be building a little bit of a network here. So check that out. The Full Range Podcast, that's on Spotify and YouTube at the moment. You can find it on the Ole Walls House YouTube page, and it is also has its own Spotify page. So check that out, and then we'll get into the show. Okay, NFL Week 9. We are halfway through the NFL season. Well, almost halfway. We have the Buccaneers and the Chiefs tonight on Monday Night Football. I'm going to yet again probably skip out on a Monday night addendum unless something wild happens and I feel like going back in and redoing the whole show, but probably not. Let's start with my Packers. They play a rain-soaked game against the Detroit Lions, and they lose 24-14. That one touchdown at the end of the game really in bullshit time. I know they still had a chance that they could onside kick it and score a touchdown and then onside kick it again, but in all reality, just an absolute ass kicking. The Lions got up as much as 24-3 after the Packers decided to kick kicked an opening field goal on the first drive of the game. And then it was all Lions from there. And I say it's all Lions, but then if you look at the stats, the Packers outgained the Lions 411 yards to 261. Threw for 273, rushed for 138. Another good performance from Josh Jacobs, 13 carries, 95 yards. Maybe should have mixed in another carry or two for him. Jordan Love played another game where there were some high highs, but the lows were much, much lower. Another awful interception, a pick six near the end of the first half. When they could have possibly gone on a little drive and done something there. I think at that point the game was 10-3. So, and granted, he threw it late. So, I mean, it was 58 seconds when they kicked the field goal to go up 10-3. The 27-yard interception return by Kirby Joseph was at the 32 seconds left. So it was asking a lot to go get points out of that, but you can't give it up. I mean, he's getting tackled. He's trying to flip a ball over the defensive line, I think to Jacobs, and just doesn't even get it close, and it goes to the house. And it's just another one of those things, like, there's just dumb mistakes, and the Packers made dumb mistakes all day. All day. Let's just go through some of them. On the Lions' first touchdown drive, it was 4th and goal from the 5, and the Lions go for it because they fucking always go for it. Jump off sides, encroachment, takes it to the 2. And they end up running a pass play anyway, but it's like just a dumb mistake. My next note was penalties becoming a theme again. So then the Packers get the double personal fouls when the guy gets ejected. I forget his name, a very good defender. I've completely forgot his name. I'm not going to look it up. They get helmet to helmet. So it's 15 yards for the helmet to helmet. He gets ejected. He freaks out. He flips off the crowd. And then the Packers immediately follow up with a penalty to back him up, and then a big drop, And the drive stalls out, and McManus comes in to kick, and he hooks one. And all of a sudden, instead of it being 7-6, or maybe even taking the lead and being 10-6, or 10-7 rather, a penalty and a drop have killed us. And then the Love thing happens. I mean, if you look at what the Packers went through, so I said they outgained him 4-11 to whatever it was. The Packers had 10 penalties. I believe 10 was the total number at the end of the day. Let me double check that. Yep, it was 10 penalties for 67 yards, an interception, which was a pick six, and 5 drops. Like, you just can't do that, man. You can't do that and expect to win games against good teams. And I said this to a friend of the program, Big Cat Bill Gardner. I'll have to find my text here. But, I mean, I don't even need it. The gist of it was, this is a good team, the Green Bay Packers. They've got some talent. Love is going to perform well in moments. He's going to do some really dumb things in moments that cost us. But this is a team that's going to beat the teams they're better than. They're going to be a team that's going to probably make the playoffs this year. I mean, they're 6-3 now. So I mean, it would take a bad rest of the year, a bad back half of the year to not. I mean, you have to imagine if they go 4-4 for the rest of the year, and in their next 8 games they're going to win. They're going to make the playoffs. But they have a problem with the best teams. Their 3 losses this year to the Eagles, the Lions, and the Vikings. Nothing to, shake your head at, but at this moment, this is a team that I don't think is constructed in the right way to make a deep playoff run, and they're not making the right plays and performing in the right ways in the biggest moments. And, is that the worst thing in the world in Jordan Love's second year as a starting quarterback? I mean, no, maybe not, but this isn't the second-year starting quarterback where your quarterback's not getting paid. This is the second-year starting quarterback, but he's getting the bag already. So there's a worry in my head that the Packers get stuck in almost like the New Orleans Saints for a while there after they had their Super Bowl win and a couple other years where they were very, very competitive. They got to a point where they were going to score a lot of points. They were going to win a lot of games. Excuse me for just 1 second. They were going to score a lot of points. They were going to win a lot of games. But you didn't really ever think they were going to win in the playoffs. I mean, they had that year where they had the bullshit, pass interference thing. But for the most part through those years, they felt like a good team, a fun team to watch. They're going to get your hopes up maybe a little bit, and I'm worried that's what the Packers are. And I think there's a worry that there is no number one receiver. They don't have a true number one. They've got some nice pieces in Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Doubs and Tucker Kraft. But it feels like they need a real true number one. And it also feels like they need someone who can consistently get to the quarterback. That seems to be something they're not getting. A good edge rusher that can really get home and cause some havoc. Feels like they're not getting a lot of pressure. I mean, shit, Jared Goff, what did he have? Like 2 incomplete passes yesterday? Oh, sorry, it was 4. I mean, another week where Jared Goff throws for under 200 and the offense looks phenomenal in between. So, yeah, I mean, it was a tough loss by the Packers. I don't feel like super upset coming off it. It just felt like the Lions they're the Super Bowl favorites at this point in the NFC, I think. And it felt like the Packers could have won that game, but stupid mistakes with dumb penalties, Jordan Love throwing another really dumb interception, and just not getting it done when they need to. So, I mean, if you look ahead, there's some tougher games left. I mean, I said, hey, if they just go 4-4, that's not a given. As I'm looking at the schedule, they're off next week. Then they have the Bears, not the easiest game in the world. I mean, the Bears are, I don't think, great, but like you ain't just gonna go walk over them. The 49ers, Christian McCaffrey could possibly be back. That's November 24th. That's 3 weeks from now. Christian McCaffrey could be back for that game, and that could be a whole different 49ers. The Dolphins, they host the Dolphins. I think is that Thanksgiving? I think that's Thanksgiving night. who knows what the Dolphins could be? They showed a little life. They lost this weekend to the Bills, but they gave the Bills a tough game. Then they go to Detroit. I mean, I just don't see a way they could win that game. Then they have at Seattle, super hard place to play, has not been great for Green Bay historically. And that team, I know DK Metcalf was out, but like they are a wild team, and like it feels like they can do some pretty good things and have some good upside. The New Orleans Saints, that should be a win. The Vikings, who we know how that went the first time around, and the Vikings bounced back this week. And then the Bears again. So, I mean, say you beat the Bears twice, you beat the Saints, there's three. You're going to have to get one from the 49ers, the Dolphins, Seahawks, Vikings, Lions again. Like, it should be done, and I think it will be done, but it's not a guarantee. Like, they can't fuck around for the rest of this year. So, let's work backwards. Let's work backwards now around the rest of the NFL. The Thursday night game, the Jets and the Texans, was, maybe the worst first half of football I've seen in God knows how long in the NFL. That was putrid. Absolutely putrid. And I said, I mean, Rodgers has been bad this year, but the Jets, I've seen the Jets multiple times have balls just bounce off their chest. I question, are the Texans bad now? I mean, they're 6-3, but the injuries are kind of piling up. It's getting dicey. And then when it looked like the Jets were going to kind of get things going in the first half, in the most Jets way possible, they have a touchdown taken off the board. Corley drops the ball before he gets to the end zone. It was just looking dicey. And I just said, Jets just do dumb shit was my note. The Jets did come around and look better in the second half, and the second half was a fun half of football, and the Jets looked pretty good. I did say it would be so on brand for me that I completely wrote the Jets off. I said the Aaron Rodgers experiment was an abject failure, and if they turn it around, it can be attributed all to me. I will take all the credit. I'm very happy and willing to be the guy that turned the Jets season around. I don't know if I trust them just yet. I'm not going to be the guy who abandons my take. The Jets are in trouble still. Devontae Adams had a great game, but you got to put it together for more than one half for me to jump on the bandwagon. I mean, the Jets have the Cardinals coming up, who have been okay. The Colts just dropped one, but they've at least committed to Joe Flacco, so there's a little less going on there. Maybe, I don't know. There's different reports out of that locker room. But Seahawks, Dolphins, the Jags stink. The Rams might have figured some out. The Bills, the Dolphins again. I mean, they pretty much have to come close to running the table. If not, they can maybe lose one game, and the Bills are in there. And again, the Dolphins may have found a little something this week, so I'm not on the Jets bandwagon just yet. Let me just say that. Panthers, Saints. Panthers pick up that win. That gets Dennis Allen fired. Commanders let the Giants back into the game late. Tough one to watch for a while when you have Commanders -4. They end up holding on. Bills, Dolphins comes down to a deep field goal. Tyler Bass, 61-yarder with time expiring. Well, not quite expiring because the Dolphins still got back out there. They had to run the old laterals left and laterals right. And Tua came into that play. His over-under in pass yards was 243.5. He had 254 yards, 10.5 yards clear of it. Throws a little dump off to Achane. Achane laterals it to Jalen Waddle, who immediately runs 25 yards backwards and kills the over on that one. That is an all-time bad beat. The Chargers ruined the Jameis Winston show. Titans-Patriots play a slop fest that goes into overtime. Drake May with one of the plays of the year so far to send that game into overtime. Just absolutely incredible, absolutely wild that he just jumped around and rolled around and scrambled and got away and threw that touchdown in. Just miraculous. Doesn't turn out well for him in the long run, but it was fun watching that. The Cowboys are in free fall. Dak Prescott's out for, I think, at least 3 to 6 weeks now. The Falcons take them down. The Falcons go to 6-3. 6-3 for the Falcons. Cowboys fall to 3-5. Rough comment, I think. I think Micah Parsons said at the start of the week, this is the game of their year, and this is just the game of the week for us. Oofda. Bengals. Are the Bengals back? Joey B, 5 tuds? Very helpful for my fantasy team this week. Ravens get back on track. They just absolutely boat race the Broncos. I thought the Broncos were going to be able to keep that one a little closer. Cardinals, like I said, the Cardinals picking up another win. They beat up on the Bears. Seahawks in a absolutely ridiculous game go down to the Rams. The Rams may be finding something. The Eagles, who I had written in my notes, the Eagles are back. I was ready to come on here and proclaim that and really shoot down the Eagles are just too much shit going on around them at the start of the year. They make it interesting coming down the stretch. I'm not ready to state that the Eagles are back just yet. And then the Vikings and the Colts, I didn't watch barely any of that game. I fell asleep. So let's just peek at the standings here. We got some fun races. Outside of the AFC East, that one's all but over. I think the Bills can clinch in the month, I heard someone say. I think, was that Romo and Nance on that game? I think I heard Nance say that the Bills can clinch the division in the month. They're 4 games up on the New York Jets, 7-2. The Jets have the next best record at 3-6. Dolphins at 2-6. Pats at 2-7. Chiefs 7-0. They lead the Chargers in next best place at 5-3. They'll have a chance tonight to remain the only undefeated team. Look out for Baker and the Bucks going in there. AFC North, looking fun. Steelers still up there at 6-2. Ravens at 6-3. Bengals now at 4-5. It's going to be tough for them probably to track down the division lead in that division, but you never know. They could be onto something. And man, this would have been a big win for the Colts this week with the Texans going down. Texans still up a couple games in that division, 6-3, 4-5 for the next best Colts. NFC East is a fun one still. It's down to a 2-horse race now. We got Commanders, Eagles, both just 2 losses. Commanders have played 1 extra game. The NFC West will end up being probably the most fun division to watch the race towards. Cardinals at 5-4. The Seahawks are the worst team at 4-5, and 2 4-4 teams in the middle. A lot. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen if and when Christian McCaffrey comes back. A lot of rumblings that he should be back soon. And, what can the 49ers sitting at 4-4 do? Like I said, Packers lose this week. They fall down to 3rd place again in the division. 7-1 Lions, 6-2 Vikings. And then the Falcons out at 6-3. Bucks need to keep pace tonight with a win. So big game for the Bucks tonight on Monday Night Football. Looking forward to next week. What do we got? Bengals Ravens on Thursday night. Get me some of that. Another fun Thursday night game. 49ers Bucks could be a good one. Bills Colts. Can the Colts figure something out? Steelers Commanders. Sneaky interesting game that maybe we didn't think was going to be that interesting at the start of the year. Falcons Saints. Saints need a win in the worst way. New coach coming online. The Jets go to Arizona in the afternoon window. And then we also have Eagles Cowboys on the later afternoon slate. So not going to be what we all thought it was going to be. Lions Texans on Sunday Night Football. Can the Texans hold up to the fucking just freight train that is the Detroit Lions at the moment? And then Dolphins Rams on Monday Night Football. Yeah, fun stuff. Let me see if I had any other notes in here. Oh, God, I can't believe I forgot this. Saquon Barkley just was doing things, hurtling backwards over people yesterday. Just absolutely absurd. He also had a hell of a game. I'm trying to find that game so I can pull up his stat line. Just wild. 27 carries for 159 yards and a touchdown, while also, again, hurdling over someone backwards, ass first. He also caught 3 more balls for 40 yards and a tutty. Best offseason pickup for any team this year has been Saquon Barkley. I think bar none. That's just been a huge success for Philly, and just well done by them. Sirianni was refusing to kick field goals Friend of the program, Jeff Slanovic, was just absolutely incensed. He must have had the Eagles on some sort of number that was 6. I think it was maybe 6.5 was that line. So Sirianni's just absolute refusal to kick field goals was maddening to him and as well as many other people. So one last thing on the Green Bay Packers. So the roommate got Boomer a Green Bay Packers bow tie to go on a collar, and she got a green collar for him. Little buddy usually wears a blue collar. This year, when Boomer has worn the Green Bay Packers collar and put it on Sunday, the Packers are 6-0. We did not have it. We did not put it. We forgot to put it on for the first week. It was a Friday game. Kind of lost track, and then halfway through the game, we're like, oh, we didn't put the collar on. Week 2, we get it on, whatever it was. Whenever they played the Vikings, if that was like week 3 or 4, whatever it is, I put it on them on Saturday. I was like, we got to get the vibes going. Loss. This weekend, on Saturday, she put the green collar on, but she's like, no, it's not a thing because I'm putting a Christmas-themed bow tie on. Turns out it's the thing. So the Green Bay Packers, when Boomer wears his green collar and Packers bow tie, and it goes on Sunday, undefeated. When we waver from that, winless. Just something to keep in mind. So you can blame. And I told the roommate not to do it. I said, don't you dare. So we can blame this week's Packers loss on the roommate. College football. Only one thing we can discuss. It happened again. It happened again. I don't know why. I don't even know how I can be surprised at this point. I shouldn't be. I should know. I did know. I said it. I said it to my father. I said, he's like, oh, maybe Penn State can play. I'm like, there's going to be a heartbreaking way it'll happen. Friend of the program, Troy Gordon, texts me. He goes, I can't help but root for another James Franklin meltdown. And of course it happened. Penn State gets off to a phenomenal start. Would have been a little better if they scored in the first drive, but, points on the first drive. Will Howard's very first pass he throws on the first third down gets taken to the house. It is Penn State 10-0. The stadium's bumping. They drive down immediately on the next drive. Bam. Another drive. Bam. It's 14-10 all of a sudden. And the moment I started to feel my soul leave its body was the interception that almost looks like a touchdown, and then you see the ball's out. On first quick glance, that corner out, they lose the guy into the corner. Some hands go up from Penn State fans. You're like, oh, shit, he scored a touchdown. Then you're like, oh, nope, he dropped it. Then you're like, oh, no. Oh, no. Not only did he drop it, the Ohio State defender picked it off. So instead of getting any points, even 3 points, now it's Ohio State ball and there will be no points. Penn State only managed a field goal in the second half. In their 3 red zone trips, they only scored 1 touchdown. And then the crux of it all. Tyler Warren busts out a big one, gets him down to the 5-yard line. And here we go again. I immediately had flashbacks to 2017 when Penn State again had blown a double-digit lead against Ohio State. That was number 2 Penn State, and I think it was number 3 Ohio State that year. 2 and 6. 2 and 6. Saquon Barkley had taken the first kick back to the house, but it all came down to a goal line stand where they won, I think, 3 or 4 straight out of shotgun, inside zone read options, and it fails miserably. And they do it the first time to Katron Allen, and out of the pistol, I think, kind of an inside read option where I think Aller could have taken it and tried to get outside. He gives it I think it was Katron Allen. If it was Singleton, forgive me. Tell you who it wasn't. It wasn't fucking Tyler Warren. And he picks up 2 yards. So I'm like, okay, if you want to try another run play on second down, and then that gives you two downs to kind of empty the tank, empty the playbook, find a little something else. So they run it on second. He gets like another half a yard maybe. So now it's third down. I'm like, okay, do something else. Get Tyler Warren involved. We're bringing a lineman out of. We're motioning a lineman in, and he gives it to Katron Allen. Get on second, and they get on third, and then you're stuck with fourth down. And it was just like a repeat all over again. And then Ohio State gets and just a fourth down play that over the short side of the field, I think. I don't know. It just never looked like there was anything movement developing. It was like it kind of peeled everybody off to the left, and I won't even get it. I don't even remember that one. I was blacked out at that point. Not from drinking, just from pain. From pain. I was just blacked out inside. I was like, it's happening again. It's happening again! How did it happen again? But it did. It did. And then Ohio State runs it out. And I don't know how this happened. It must have popped up in the algorithm because of Fire Franklin. But I got a notification on Instagram that one of my reels had been liked. I'm like, I haven't really done a reel in a little while. And it was from almost a year ago today, talking about how Penn State had fired Mike Yurich. And I'm like, it's a and in the reel, I say it's a Band-Aid. And I'll post it on my Instagram on Tuesday again when this pod comes out. And I said, it's a Band-Aid, and the problem is James Franklin. And the problem, again, is James Franklin. I don't know how or what he does to lose big games. He's now 1-13 at Penn State against top 5 opponents. And I'm not saying he needs to be 13-1. He doesn't need to be 10-3. Or 4 it would be. Shit, I'm not even saying he needs to be 7-7. But what about like 5-9? Something? Like anything? And they probably shouldn't even have won the game that he did win. It was off an incredible block kick. Just like the perfect storm. And the frustrating, I don't know, maybe it's getting to a fever pitch. I doubt it. I looked up what his buyout was. I have a note on that. And his buyout is $56 million. Like, they're going to find $56 million to buy out James Franklin? Christ. It's not like Penn State's like an SEC school where there's just boosters left and right. They're like, let's do it. I mean, there should be money laying around, but I don't know that there's $56 million to go buy out James Franklin. Who knows if the brain trust in charge even thinks it's an issue? But 1-13? You know what the problem? Here's the problem. Like, the problem is going to be, I think Penn State is going to be favored pretty largely in every game for the remainder of the year. So, let's see here. They got Washington this week. They're going to be favored by a boatload. Let's see if I can find that number. Football. 13-point favorite at home, night game. Also, I know why it happens. Fox does huge ratings at Fox Big Noon. It sucks. It sucks that Penn State and Michigan aren't going to be night games. Not saying that would have made the difference. Could have maybe helped a little, but like there's a different vibe from a noon game to a night game. And the crowd was all there early. Credit to them, but like, whatever. So yeah, they have Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland. I bet they're at least touchdown favorites in every one of those games going forward. So there's a pretty clear path to 11-1. Indiana's undefeated. Oregon's undefeated. It looks like Oregon's going to finish that way. Then Ohio State and Penn State with 1 loss. Nobody else with less than 2 losses. So they would need Indiana and Ohio State to lose again. I don't know how the tiebreak would go with Indiana if they would need them to lose twice as well to get into the Big Ten title game. But so there's a very real possibility they go 11-1. They miss the Big Ten title game, but then make the college football playoff. Probably even host a game at this point. I would imagine they're currently ranked 6th. The first college football playoff standings come out on Tuesday, the night of the release of this. So I mean, finish inside the top 8, so they host a home playoff game. Possibly win that, but like then they're going to run up against another good school and get beat in a big game that James Franklin can't win. Rinse, wash, repeat. And that's going to be a thing. But in the new Big Ten, instead of just losing to Michigan and Ohio State every year, now Oregon's in there. I don't know if Oregon's on the schedule next year, but like add that in as a fucking loss. And like, God forbid USC figures it out, or, you know, Luke Fickell finds something in Wisconsin, or Michigan bounces back. Like, it's just, it's lunacy. And I've said this, like, hey, if you get rid of James Franklin, there is a chance that you go from 10-win seasons. It might not work out. It might not work out. You may roll back. You could go backwards. Like, that's a possibility. There's no guarantee. And to some people, they're like, well, we keep winning 10 games. We're in big bowl games. We're going to make the college football playoffs now. And we'll be in the playoff every year. Yeah, in the playoff and lose in the first round. I'm just so sick of it. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm so invested in this shit. I shouldn't be. It's the same fucking thing every year. How does it keep happening? How do I keep caring? Oh, good friend of the program. Hasn't made it on yet. We're getting him there. Dakota Roof goes, I got to find something else to get invested in because this same shit every year is getting old. Oh, tell me about it. I don't even know. What even else happened in college football? Oh, Miami went up and took the lead in the game against, Duke went up and took the lead against Miami. What was the score when they took the lead? Duke went up 28-17 with 10 minutes left in the third quarter. From there, Miami put the ball in the end zone at the 7-minute mark to make it 28-25. For the next 17 minutes of game time, they scored 4 touchdowns after that, ended up winning 53-31. Ay caramba. I was like, oh, this game's close, and I flipped it on. It was not close. It was not close at all. Oregon beat the shit out of Michigan. Florida gave Georgia the game because Carson Beck just kept throwing interceptions. Louisville beat Clemson. That put on its head what could have been a wild thing in the ACC, where Clemson, SMU, and Miami could have all finished the year undefeated and never having played each other, and there could have been 3 undefeated teams in the ACC, and there would have been a wild way for the two participants in the ACC title game to be decided, so that could have been fun. Houston beat Kansas State. I don't even know. What's next week? There ain't good games next week. Georgia, Ole Miss. There we go. Ole Miss absolutely fucking skin the Hogs. The Razorbacks. Georgia, Ole Miss Saturday afternoon. Alabama, LSU at night. A couple of good matchups there in the SEC. I should definitely watch Alabama, LSU instead of watching Penn State. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to enjoy myself. Watch a game that doesn't just brutally end in heartbreak for once. Oh, God. All right. I think that's enough of college football. College football poll will be out. We'll have something to talk about and how that all shake out next week. The other sports section now, it feels like a year and a half ago that the World Series was going on. But the LA Dodgers are your World Series champs. Freddie fucking Freeman. Homers in the first in Game 3, and then does the exact same thing again in Game 4. 4 straight home runs in this World Series, with 2 more dating back to his last appearance. 6 consecutive games with a home run in the World Series. Nobody else has done that before. He goes on to be your World Series MVP. Ends up driving, I think, 12 runs throughout the series. Had a big RBI in Game 5. The Yankees were out to a big lead again. They got up 5-0. They scored 3 runs in the first in Game 5. Tacked down another in the second and again in the third. And it looked like it was going to be a repeat of the night before when the Yankees won big 11-4. But things started falling apart. Judge misplayed a ball in the outfield. Their shortstop kind of inexplicably went to third on a grounder and kind of short-armed it. And then Garrett Cole, who had been pitching a very, very good game, ended up going 7 in that game, I think. So again, this was a long time ago, it feels like. 6 2/3. Did not give up an earned run. Did not give up an earned run. 4 hits, 6 2/3. No earned runs. But just didn't cover first on a ball. Anthony Rizzo played it. Was definitely expecting him to cover first. From what I read and heard, Rizzo never takes the ball to first on his own, and another run came in. 5 runs in the 5th, and all the momentum swang. The Yankees did get the lead back, but in the 8th inning, the Dodgers got the lead again, and the Dodgers are your champs. Shohei Ohtani was pretty much non-existent. It was the Freddie Freeman show in the World Series, and it was impressive. It was very impressive. I wondered if I was going to care about baseball at all after Cleveland got bounced in the ALCS. Turns out I still had a hell of a time watching the World Series. Baseball put up a goddamn show this year, especially in the playoffs. The playoffs were incredible. And, Cleveland had 2 fun series despite getting their asses kicked in the ALCS. Those games were magnificent, more so if you weren't a Cleveland fan. But even the World Series games, even though it was just a 4-1 series, 5 games, just fantastic. Baseball had a great year. The ratings were through the roof. They were miles better, not miles, but 3 or 4 million better than recent NBA Finals. So it was a good year for baseball. I had a lot of fun. I've enjoyed watching baseball the last 2 years. I've gotten way more into it than I ever imagined I would. Cleveland got some bad news already this year for next year. David Fry has to go through some surgery. Won't be able to hit for 6 to 8 months. So, we're looking at May to July. Can't play the field for 10 to 12, I think. So that's going to cause some issues in the lineup if they can only DH him. What are you going to do with Kyle Mansardo, Josh Naylor? There's questions about maybe Naylor will be moved. Bieber's gone. Pierce Boyd and Cobb are gone. Not that Cobb, I don't think, is a big one you need to bring back. Boyd would be a nice one to bring back. So the hot stove. We're off to the hot stove. We might talk a little bit about that in the offseason. Maybe when we got some stuff, we'll talk to Ethan. But in the other sport, the Flyers, look out. Don't let them get hot. 2 wins last week. 2 wins after just being pretty pitiful. Pick up a win over the Bruins. I think that was the first time they beat the Bruins out. Was it like 19 years or something like that? So it's like 05, 06. Some insane thing. They ended up beating the Blues Thursday last week, and then the Bruins came back and get their comeuppance. They play a few times this week. Couple two tree. On the road trip. A little southern road trip. Hurricanes, Lightning, and Panthers. I don't know if those teams are good yet this year. Panthers are good. Panthers have got 19 points leading the Atlantic. The Lightning are right behind them. And the Hurricanes are second place in the Metropolitan Division. So, tough week for the Flyers. Can they keep it going? They have a paltry 9 points so far. Worse than the Eastern Conference. Anyone worse than them in the West? Yes, the San Jose Sharks, only team with less points. 8 points for the San Jose Sharks. Flyers, 9. 9 points. They've played 12 games. They have 9 points. Matvei Michkov was the rookie of the year, rookie of the month in the Eastern. I don't know if that's the Eastern Conference. It says that NHL rookie of the month in October. He's been off to a nice start. I think he's already got 10 or 12 points. So he's turning out so far. All right, let's keep this thing rolling. Time for some passing thoughts. Here we go. So this pod's dropping on Tuesday, November 5th, Election Day 2024. So you'll be hearing this before any sort of. I'm saying this before any sort of election results are coming in. And you'll hear this before it. So I'll keep all my election thoughts here just nice and quick right off the top. I found it very interesting. Trump went on Rogan. J.D. Vance went on Rogan. Even John Fetterman, the Democratic senator from Pennsylvania, went on Rogan. But somehow the Kamala Harris campaign team played it as Joe Rogan was a diva for wanting her to come to the studio, while those other 3 people had. Bernie Sanders had previously gone to his studio. They wanted him to come to her And I'm sure there would have been rules and restrictions. The other people had no rules and restrictions. And I just found it was odd how they played it as a diva when, the other presidential candidate went to him. Just last couple, political type thoughts, election stuff here. Here's my prediction. I don't think Trump wins, but if Trump wins, the only way, the only route that Trump wins is that he's going to win, and we will know, Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning or into the Wednesday wee hours of the day. If by 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning they have not called it for Trump, Kamala Harris will win. That is my prediction, and I think it's going to go something like that. I think it'll be a long, drawn-out process, and the official call may not come for a day or 2 or 3 or 4 days later, which I find to be wild, that for every election I can remember in my life, except for one, the first one I can remember, Bush-Gore in 2000, that drug on forever. But 04, Bush, who was that? That was John Kerry, Bush-Kerry, Obama, McCain, Obama, Romney, and Trump the first time. The call was made not necessarily that night, but the night of the election or into the early morning hours. And somehow in 2020, in the most technologically advanced time of my life, it couldn't be done anymore. And there's already states, the multiple of the swing states, Nevada, Pennsylvania, saying you will not know election results on election night, which is just wild to me. We knew election results on election night, again, for, 04, 08, 12, and 16. Just wild to me. All right, moving on. I ate at the dinner table the other night. That was a new experience for me. Hadn't ate at the dinner table in a couple weeks. I've been eating right here in this chair, a little plate, a little dish. What do they call those things? Like a TV table. So yeah, eating at the dinner table was nice. I enjoyed that. A lot. Looking forward to doing that somewhere else that's not my house. Going out for dinner a little bit, getting some of that. I forgot to say this in the football, and it looks even more ridiculous after the game. Mike Tannenbaum was on First Take. I think that's what it is. Or Get Up. I forget what all the names of the stupid ESPN shows are. The former Jets GM made this trade proposal this morning on Get Up. The Lions receive Myles Garrett, and the Browns get Jahmyr Gibbs, 3 first-round picks, and a second-round pick. You wonder why you're a former GM, Mike Tannenbaum. Jesus Christ, how dumb can you be? Yikes! Ay caramba indeed. Here's something I saw. There is a new movie or show coming out on Netflix. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't research it that much. It's called Time Cut. And it said the POV, you just time traveled back to 2003 and everything you see is a jump scare. And I encourage you to look at the trailer. The trailer was a high school in 2003. I first went to the high school building. I was in 8th grade, but in our area, the 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade were in the high school. That was the first year it happened. My 7th grade year, I was still at a different school. So would have been fall of 03, right? Because then, fall of 04. So just after this, I always say, growing up in a small middle of nowhere town, trends move you a little slower. So fall of 04, right in this, and I'm just watching this trailer. I'm like, oh dear God, it's everything. They're making movies about when I went to high school, and I'm hurt. It's 21 years ago is the thing in the movie. So if you're like, oh, well, what would that have been when I was in high school? I graduated in high school in 2009. 21 years ago was 1988. Just a couple years, 21 years before that would have been 81, 89, or 88. So essentially just Back to the Future. The start of Back to the Future. Back to the Future was 30 years, from 85 back to 55. 30 years from now is 94? 94? God. Like, we're into the era of, like, my childhood is now, like, the throwback TV shows. It's like, Jesus Christ, hit me with a brick. Just let me know. You're old. You're getting old, person. You're becoming an old person. And speaking of becoming an old person, that's probably why I found this so interesting. I thought this was a very cool image. I'm going to share it with you guys here. It shows I hope it's showing up here. Is it? Yep, we're good. We're good. We're going to zoom in. Hope if I zoom, it's working. Just bear with me as I double check. Yeah, it's working. All right, so I thought this was really cool. This is rates of travel, and all these different lines indicate where you're at. So, New York out to, into New Jersey, you can get there in one day. This is in 1800. To get to middle northeastern Pennsylvania, basically where I grew up in Bradford County, would take you close to a week from New York City. To get out to Wisconsin, to get out to Chicago from New York City was 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Then you move over to 1830. So, this is by railroad, I believe. You can get out to Pennsylvania, middle of Pennsylvania, about 3 days, 3 days. Get down to the northern tip of Florida in a week. You can get to Chicago in about 3 weeks. Incredible. 1857, right before the Civil War. Now things are changing. You can get out to Cleveland, Ohio in about a day. Now you're looking, out to Chicago in about 2 to 3 days. Looks like 2. That's in a 2-day range. Even Madison, Wisconsin. A week out to the Mississippi River. You're looking at 5 to 6 weeks to get out to the West Coast, depending on where you're at. 4 weeks, maybe. Southern Arizona, maybe 3 weeks, depending on it. Just wild. And then you just keep going. Now you get to 1930, and the game has changed. 1930, you can get all the way out to Chicago in a day. Get, well past the Mississippi, out into the Dakotas, eastern part of Texas in 2 days. All the way out to the West Coast in 3 days. Just very wild. I thought that was really cool. Hopefully that went away and you're just back to my beautiful face here. And I'll just leave you with this. I was driving and I heard Toby Keith's Should Have Been a Cowboy. That is a goddamn jam. And that's all I'm going to leave you with. Toby Keith makes hits. Should have been a cowboy. Closing time, everybody. A few things. I want us to say thank you to everybody. I appreciate you. I appreciate the support. If you could, like, share, comment, subscribe, rate, review, do the whole thing. Thanks, as always, to producer Kevy for helping us out getting started here. Couldn't have done it without him. Remember, MJ's new podcast, The Full Range Podcast. It is on the Ole Walls House YouTube page. Has its own channel on Spotify. We're working on getting that channel on Apple Pods and Amazon and wherever else we can get it as well. I believe his idea is Thursday, November 7th for the first full episode to be out. The preview is out now. Check it out. So I'll be back next week. We got more sports to break down. We'll cover some election fallout, see what happens. And I just want to leave everybody with one thing. If the person you voted for in the election didn't win, here's what you do the next day. You get the fuck up, you go to work, and you contribute something to society. Peace!